Okay, so we are up to where do we leave on the bottom, right? Bottom of Lama Test. Bottom of Lama Test on the base. Yeah.
Not the last line?
I think a few lines before that,
Either
no?
Tanya
Tanya
Bar
Bar
Kapara
Kapara.
or
Tanya Bar Kapara.
Tanya Bar
Okay.
Kapara, yeah.
No, we didn't do Rab. No, Rabbi Reb Yosef.
Funny that we saw. We saw until Lama Rav Hilchos Tzarech Limchus B'Seif Kol Gimel V'Gimel.
What? Oh, I'm on Mem. What? One second. What's today's daf?
Mem.
Today's daf is mem. We're on Lama Testament base.
Oh, Lama Testament base. Okay, I'm sorry.
3.5 lines up.
Yeah. Okay. Tani Bar Kapara or Bar Kafra, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Right? Irer chazar ve'ir chazar ve'ir. So let's say a guy makes from the word ha'ara, meaning we're talking about a guy making a complaint against the chazaka in the field, right? So he asked him, and then he asked him, and then he asked him. Meaning he did it 3 times, right? Meaning we said yesterday that if a guy, you have to make a macha at least every 3 years. So if he did this over, I guess, a span of 9 years, so imach was taina rishoyna irer. If he did it with his first taina, ein loy chazaka, he has no chazaka. And if not, yesh loy chazaka, then he does have a chazaka, right? Meaning, if he comes to him the 3rd year and he says, "Oh, it's mine because it's mine," and he's a crook, right? And then 3 years later, he comes and he says, "No, I bought it from somebody else." He gives a whole different story. So then he's full of baloney, and then the macha is not a good macha. Amar Rav Nachman, macha b'fnei shnayim. So another din, a macha has to be in front of 2 people. On to today's daf. They ain't tzarich loymar ksuva, and they don't have to tell him that they could write down the macha, right? Meaning, so we need a little bit of background on this. Normally, Eidim are not allowed to sign any shtaros about what went on. They give verbal edus, and that's it. Why? Because if they sign something, then it can come to work against the person who they're saying the edus for. Right? So, Memela, they need permission in order to sign something. So we're saying here, but by a macha, if they're edim on the macha, they don't need permission to sign it. They could sign it, right? Fine, that's one. Then moidah. Then because of that, we get into this other sugya. Moidah, somebody who's from we call the meiser moidah when we do hatoras adorim erev Rosh Hashanah. So when you let the people know that you're letting the bezdin know that you're being moidia them, that any neder you make the rest of the year is not going to be a neder, right? So maidah b'fnei shnayim, that you also do in front of 2. Meaning, if you're letting somebody know that you're being forced into either selling something, we'll see as the Gemara goes along, whether you're forced into selling something or forced into giving a matana. So you can do that. You also do that in front of 2. And it goes without saying that you don't. I'm sorry, the Ve'en Tzorach Lemon is the normal way to type it. Here it's Ve'en Tzorach Lemon. You don't need to say Ksuvay, write it. Right? Meaning, because it's pashut that the one who's being Meiser Maidah it helps him to have something written, right? Because he has proof that he didn't really mean to sell his property. He was doing it because he was forced. Right? How about Haidah b'fnei shnayim? B'tzarech loymar, meaning if a guy is being moida, meaning he says, I owe him money. So you do that in front of 2 Eidim. B'tzarech loymar ksuva, but there you have to say that he. What?
The first case with the Eidim that it can't write down because it may hurt him. Could you give an example?
What do you mean? Give an example of which case?
The first one, he said, well, Adam don't have to ask permission to write something down. 'Cause it may hurt him. Aren't we after the truth? If they were Adam to something, they have to ask permission to write it down.
No, but he could, if let's say he paid it back already, and then they'll bring out a star that and they say, look, he owes money.
So when someone borrows money, you can't write it down without permission.
Correct. You can't write any. The default is you cannot write, the Adam cannot write any star without the permission of the players. Now, sometimes it's going to benefit one and not the other. Sometimes it'll benefit this one and not that one. Right? So anyway, so that's what it's saying. So but you have to tell him to write it. Right? Meaning it's not because the Adam signing a star that this guy's Maida is going to make it worse. It possibly can make it worse. Right? Because if he paid it back, then he would have been believed. Right? But once he has a star, so then he's not going to be believed, because why is the star still out there? Right? It should have been erased or destroyed. Yeah, fine. Kinyan v'fnei shnayim. Kinyan in front of two. And you don't have to say write it. Meaning when you do a kinyan, you cannot write it. Bekim shtaras b'shloisha, to be makayim a star, that you need shloisha, you need a bezdin to be makayim a star to prove that a star is correct. Is not correct, is legitimate. And then the bezdin signs off on the star. Fine. So that's all as a fallout from the first part, that you don't need to tell people, the Adam, that they have to write a star for the ksuba, not the ksuba, for the macha. So Rava, if I would have a kasha, then ha kashali on all these previous things about whether you're mechuyev to let somebody know about writing a star, right? Ha kashali, hi kinyan hechidami. What is this kinyan? Ika maisa bezdin dummy. If it's like a maisa bezdin libayat, then it should need 3 people. And he lavka maisa bezdin dummy. It's not like maisa bezdin. Ma'in it's arach lemek suva. So then why doesn't he have to tell them they should write the star? Right? Meaning that Adam and Allah to write a star. So if you're talking about a kinyan, by the way, I should have said this before, that was a mistake. Kinyan, when it says kinyan, when you make a kinyan, it's a kinyan chalipin. What we do, again, we had many times with the rabbi, by the mechiras chametz, or by a chassan by a tish. So by a chassan by a tish is a legitimate kinyan. By the rabbi, we said many times that it's not a kinyan, but the chassan by the tish, it's a kinyan. Right, so he gives you give the pen to, or the yarmulke from the Adam, you give it to the chassan, and the chassan meshabed himself to the kala. Right, so Rav is asking, this will be my kasha. Kinyan, what's talking about kinyan? If it's a Maisa Bezdin, then you should need 3 people. And if it's not a Maisa Bezdin, Amayin it's Arach Lemer Ksuva. So then why does he not tell them write a star? Right? Why can't he just say to prove that there was some sort of kinyan here? So that's Rava's kasha. Basra the boy, after Rava asked it, Hadar Pashta, he answered, La'ilam lavka Maisa Bezdin dami. Really, it's not like a Maisa Bezdin. Okay, so why are we saying that he doesn't have to tell them that it could be written? Mishum, the Stam Kinyan, the Ksiva Aymed, because Stam Kinyan is for Ksiva. Right? Meaning, when you do a Kinyan, that's the again, no pun intended, the unwritten rule of that is that it's meant to be written. Fine. So Rabba, then the Gemara continues, with on the same sugya. Rabba Yosef Dharma Tavai Loika Svinan Moida Ella Aman Deloit Sayas Dina. You only write a Moida, right, letting people know things, on somebody who did not listen to. He doesn't listen. A guy doesn't listen to Bezdin, right? And meaning a guy is afraid that the guy he's going up against is a strong armed fellow. He doesn't listen, right? So they're saying, so Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef are both saying that you don't write down a Moedah unless this guy's not going to listen. Right? Fine. So, but if a guy's going to listen, then what's the problem? Right? If it's going against a regular person, so why do you need to write something down? They said no, they disagree. Abai and Rava disagree. They say even it's on me and on you, it's meaning not on me or you, meaning me, even me and you, law-abiding citizens. Also, you could write, right? Why? Because let's say when he's gonna when again being Meiser Maidah, he's basically saying, tomorrow I got this guy, he's forcing me to sell him his field or something like that. So he wants to let everybody know. So what happens if he does this in front of Adam? He tells to Adam, by the way, tomorrow I'm selling my field, but I'm being forced, right? And now they want to go prove it in Bezdin, but Bezdin's closed for whatever reason. So now what proof does he have to let everybody know that this Kinyan should not be a good Kinyan? Yeah, so that's the machlokes. Rabbi Yosef say it's only if you're going up against somebody who's not legit or who doesn't listen, and Abai and Rabbi say it's for everybody. Yeah, fine. Amin Ardoi, Kol Moedah, any Moedah on top of base, the like Sibba that it doesn't write, you don't write in Anan Yedinan Bay, but Ainsa de Planya. We know about, if you don't write in it, we know about this Ainus that Pliny is going through, Lav Moedahi. Then that's not considered a Moedah. Meaning, if we want to get somebody and say, by the way, this Kinyan was no good because this guy was forced, you have to write in the shtar, right? That it's not a Moedah. I mean that it's meaning it's that you have to write Anan Yadinan Bay, but we know that this guy is being forced, right? And if you don't do that, then it's not considered a good Moedah. Right? Moedah demai. So the Gemara asks, what type of Moedah? Moedah about what? Matanta. If it's from a get or a matana, meaning you're trying to say that the get that this fellow gave, he was forced into it. Or the present that this guy gave, he was forced into it. Gilui milsa ba'almi. All he has to do is tell everybody that he's being forced and it's no good. Right? So meaning because you're just letting everybody know that why should a guy make up a story? There's no money in it. Whenever there's no money in it, right? Giving a matana, I mean, there's money in it for the person, but there's nothing to be gained to making up a story. Why would anybody make up a story like that? Right? Meaning, if a guy promised a fellow a present, and then he decides he doesn't want to give the present, so don't give the present. Right? What does he need this whole complicated thing to write a shtar? By the way, the present that I promised that I'm again, this is talking about Mesiras Moedah, which means it didn't happen yet. It's going to happen. Right? Guy makes an announcement, calls it, and says, by the way, tomorrow the present that I'm giving to my neighbor, I'm being forced. Right? If he's gonna lie, so just don't give the present tomorrow. I mean, if the whole thing was made up, just don't give the present. Right? So that he's making up this story, right? So all you have to do is
Aaron, you muted.
They're forcing him to give the present.
Right, they're forcing him. But it doesn't need Eidos to say if he's really being forced. To just tell people you're being forced. You don't have to have a whole Maisa Bezdin about it. We're worried that it's not a real Einus. So if it's not a real Einus, then just don't give the present. Elamai, it is a real Einus. You don't need to prove that it's a real Einus. It either is or it isn't. If it's a real Einus, then just being Megala that it's an Einus, it should be enough.
He can't be Megala, it's an Einus, because they're going to shoot him.
But he's doing that anyway. He's putting it in a shtar.
No, he has it in writing whenever it's safe enough to give it to Bezdin.
Right, to tell two people, what do you need the shtar?
because those two people are not going to say anything either, because they're afraid they're going to get shot.
Well, that no. So that's the machlokes Rabbi Yosef and Abai and Rava. If the right.
Let's pretend that machlokes. It's two rebbeim versus two talmidim of both.
What are you saying?
It's an interesting machlokes. Rabbi and Rav Yosef usually bar pluktas with each other, and Abai and Rava bar pluktas. But they're arguing with their rebbeim. The rebbeim both say.
So they're arguing with their
That
rebbeim.
only went the way
So what?
Tina.
They're giving the rebbeim nachas. What is the problem?
I don't recall ever seeing a machlokes like this, where Abai and Rava agree
Baruch Hashem,
and
he
both
learned it
argue
today.
with their rebbeim.
Anyways, I'm saying, but the point is that if he's just a matana or a get, just don't give the get. Right? Just don't give it. If you feel that you're not supposed to give the get, as we know, unfortunately, many men do that. Right? They just don't give it. All right, what do you make up this whole story for? So that's what we're saying. So again, and if it's a sale, right? Then we don't write it. Rava says we don't write a maida on a sale, right? So, and the Rashbam brings that it's a nafkamina. What does it mean to force a guy to sell? Meaning, if you force a guy to sell one field and you don't tell him which field to sell, then that's fine. It's only a problem if you force him to sell a specific field. Either way, so the Gemara is asking, what kind of maida are we talking about here? So my answer is Lo'ilam Desvini. We're talking about it was a sale, a regular sale. Okay. So what we just said, you don't write a Messiah's Madonna sale. Maida Rava, Hechada Anis, the Rava's Maida, where he was forced, Ukamaisa the Pardisa has the story of this Pardis. What's the story of the Pardis? The Hugavra, the Mashkin Pardisa, Lechavri Litlashnin. Yeah, this guy who was Mashkin as Pardis for 3 years. Basra to Achlot /Shni Chazaka, and I mean again, what did he do? He was mashkin it, meaning he borrowed money from the guy and he used it as a mortgage, right? He used it as a there's another word for mortgage, no? As a collateral. Meaning he borrowed money based on his field, which essentially what we do nowadays with our houses, right? And it was for 3 years. And after he ate the 3 years of the chazaka, Amar. So now this is what the guy did. The guy who was the borrower, said, the lender. The lender said to the borrower who owns the field, if you're going to sell me this field or the pardis, great. And if not, I'm going to hide the star that it's a mashkin, and I'm going to just tell everybody that I took it, right? Meaning that I bought it. Again, this is talking about the same case that we were talking about a whole week, the mashkanta desura, where the guy borrows money. He doesn't have money to pay it back. So what does he do? He says, "Take my field and eat the fruits." So the deal is that he eat the fruits for 3 years, and once the 3 years are up, he gets back his field. That's the deal. So we're talking about here. We're talking about here where after the 3 years, and he's supposed to give back the field, he's gonna force this guy, and he tells him, either you sell me the field, or if not, I'm hiding the shtar that there was a loan here at all, and I'm gonna say that I bought it already, and that's it. You're gonna be out because I have a chazaka. So Gemara says, in that case, ki agavna kasvinan maida. In that case, we're gonna write a maida like this. We're gonna tell he's gonna tell bring in Aiden and say, by the way, he's forcing me to sell him the field, but he can't have it, right? And that's it. Yeah. So that's the situation where on a sale you're going to write a Mesiras Moedah. Right? Okay, it's a little confusing exactly how this works, when this works, but yeah. Okay, so let me see weiter. Rav Yehuda. Hi Matanta Tamirta. So this is interesting. I think it does come up, this Gemara. You know, when you're supposed to give a gift, let's say somebody's trying to get a mortgage, right? And he doesn't have enough money in his account. So you show a letter that somebody gifted you a face, 50 grand, so that you have some income. Anybody familiar with this? It's the Kyle way, at least the minimum, to get a mortgage. Whether this works nowadays, doesn't work nowadays, I have no idea. But that's one of the shticks. So that's not really a matana. So let's say the guy decides to, say, hey, I mean, that's one possibility. You could say, oh, you gave me a matana. He doesn't give it back. Or the guy gives him matana, he doesn't keep it quiet. So that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about somebody, he gives a star, and he says, don't be mefarsim it. Right? Hi matanta tamirta, a hidden star of a matana, loy magminum lo. He can't collect it. Meaning you cannot go with this star, since it was hidden and it was told to be hidden, so then you're not allowed to go to the guy and say, hey, give it to me. It's not allowed. Hey, Chidami, what's the case? What is the case of the secret thing? The secret matana star. Amar Rav Yosef to Amar Lahu Basadi, he tells witnesses, Zilu atmuru v'kasvale. Go hide and then write the star. Bigad Amri, and some say Amar Rav Yosef, Deloy Amar Lahu, right? When he didn't tell them, Teisvu b'shuka, do this in the street, sit in the. I'm sorry, I think I read that wrong. Amar Yosef, Deloy Amar Lahu. Yeah, I'm saying you're right. When he didn't tell them, Teisvu b'shuka u'bebriyasa v'tichtavulei, when he didn't tell them, do this in the street. Meaning he has a very, very interesting definition of what it means hidden. According to him, hidden means you didn't tell the guy to do it in public. So if you didn't tell him to do it in public, that's already considered hidden. The first shot is that he told him hide and then write the star. Second shot is just he didn't tell him to do it in public. Okay, so my benayu, what's the difference? Ika benayu stama. The difference between them is he just writes it stam, right? Meaning, if according to the first shot, since he didn't tell them to keep it quiet, so therefore it's considered a standard matana shtar. According to the second shot, since he didn't tell them to do it berabim, so then it's considered a hidden shtar. Okay, so Amar Rava. So Rava said, "V'havi moidah lechaverta," but it is a moidah to its chaver, right? Meaning when you write this shtar of matana, yeah, basically what you're doing is you're giving whatever it is it says in this matana, you're giving it to him as opposed to the rest of the world, right? Meaning, even though you may not give it to the guy who's written in the shtar, let's say Reuben writes this hidden shtar to Shimon, so even you're not going to give it to Shimon, but the point is nobody else can take this thing either. Meaning this thing is stuck in no man's land because you're not giving it to Shimon, but you can't give it to anybody else in the world, right? So it's sort of like a Mesiras Moedah. Fine. So Amar Papa, Hadarava La Beferish Itma El Meklala Itma. This rule that Rava said was not said. He didn't say Beferish. It came out from a story. Dahu Gavra, Dazalukadusha Yitza. There was a guy who was going to be Makadosh a woman. Amrale. Listen to this story here. I'm assuming this is a real story. Hahu Gavra, Dazalukadusha Yitza. He went to marry a woman. Amrale, she told him, if you give me everything, I'll marry you. This is obviously, we're going to see in a minute, this is a second marriage. Right? She tells him, you got to give me everything. And if not, you don't give me everything, I'm not marrying you. Also, so he went to give her everything. Also, Shisha, so came the oldest son, Amrale, and he said to the father, Bahu Gavra Mateh, they're talking in third person. right? He said, and what's going to be with me? You just gave away my whole Yerusha because you fell in love with this lady. What's with my Yerusha? Armalahu, Lasadi. So then the father went and told Adam, Zilu, Atmuru, Ba'aver Yamina. Go hide in Ever Yamina, name of a place, and Vikisvu lay, and go write him over. Meaning he says, in quiet, write all my belongings over to my son, and then you can write everything over to my wife. Right? So why is this going to work? Because when the wife comes and says she wants the property, he's going to say, no, it was already given away to somebody else before you. It was given to my son before you. You're too late on the game. But he did this in secret, so she shouldn't find out about it. Right?
Not a mekach tos on the marriage?
Oh, so let's see. So also made the Rava. So then I guess she found this out. So they came in front of Rava, Amalahu. So he said to them, Loy Mar Kana. This one's not kind of, but Loy Mar Kana, meaning the son is not kind of, and the wife is not kind of. Right? He said nobody's kind of. Okay, so what do we think from this?
So the property is now by the guy still.
It still goes to the.
So he can do whatever he wants now. Again, he can give it to anyone.
Seemingly so. Yes, correct. So somebody who saw this thought the reason why he said that the woman's is no good is because he was Meiser Maidah. Before he handed over the shtar to his wife, he basically told these Adam in the hidden place that it's not he's being forced. Right? And meaning, so Mamela, what did we see from this? So that we took from this case that Rava holds is that it's that you have a Maidah L'chaverta. Right?
That's called forced?
At that, right. So that's what I'm saying. It's an interesting
case.
He
wants to marry this 20-year-old girl. He was married to a 90-year-old woman. He's 100 years old. And this 20-year-old babe comes over to him, give me $40 million, I'll marry you. So she didn't force him. He wants to marry her.
Right, but she's forcing him.
His son showed up. From his son, all of a sudden comes down from Brooklyn and says, "Pa, what are you doing?" She didn't force him.
Yeah. Parrot looks like
his son was in the nursing home and they forced him to go.
That's right. The son was in the nursing home also, in a different home,
100%. Yeah, so well, look at the next line, and you're really not going to like it. But that's what the Gemara is thinking, that this was a Maidah L'chaverta. Right? Meaning, even though Batsam, he didn't say he was being forced. He wrote the shtar over to his son. He didn't say anything about being forced. Right? He wrote over the shtar to the son. But Mamela, Rava said that they're both no good. But it's not necessarily true. Hasa, Mucha, Milsa, there, it was Muchach, it was obvious. The Machmas Einsahu the Kosovla. The reason why he was giving it to his wife was because she was forcing him out of it, which you have a kasha around it, saying she didn't force him. It's a free country. Right? Elamai, you see that a woman could have epis on a man. She could just make him not think straight.
That's what happens. How are you saying it's forced?
Elamai, that must be called.
Fine, whatever. Fine.
I gotta have a shtickle Torah on this, but it's maybe not kedai. Well, let's say the machmas not a Torah, but the machmas einzu the kosula aval hacha. Right, but here mar nichale delikni. Right, when you want to give over a gift to somebody, right, it's nichale delikni. Right, I mean, if he means it legit. So he wants to give it over. But he doesn't want the guy that's holding the shtar that was secret. He doesn't want him to be kind of meaning. When this guy writes two shtars, one a secret gift to a guy, and the other one he writes a beferish gift. So he doesn't really want both of them to have it. He only wants the legitimate guy to have it. All right? Meaning the guy who gave the regular matana, shtar matana to, he wants him to have it. The bogus shtar that he made them write Bitsina is not his. mean, he not his. He didn't want that to happen.
What? So why did he write the shtar?
What?
Why did he write the shtar?
He was trying to, so he was trying to use a legal loophole, right, to get out of whatever it is. Meaning, he gave it to him in case. I mean, I will make up a case, but I think this is essentially the case. He wrote a shtar matana to somebody, but he never intended to give it to him. He wrote it in case the authorities would come after him. Let's say it that way. The authorities might come after him and say, from August, what today's date? August 4th. August 4th, you owe us money. He says, well, I'm sorry, I gave away all my property on August 3rd. Right? So he never really meant for that guy to have it. He just did it in order to get it.
So it was a fourth shtar, not really my
Correct. And then he gave everything away. I mean, didn't we do this with people? We tell people to give things away, right? Before anything happens.
Yeah.
Right. So he really didn't mean, he only wrote the first one. Again, I'm not sure if this is exactly the example. I can't say I fully understand all the stuff that's going on here. I can't even say I half understand everything that's going on here. But it's essentially, he wrote that original shtar as sort of like a to fall back on in case people want to come take things from him. But then his real original maton he wanted to give to somebody else. Okay, I hope this was semi understandable.
One more line to the Mishnah.
What?
One more line to the Mishnah. No?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought it would end over there. Yeah, we got to get to the Mishnah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Iboilu. So they asked the Shaila, Stomamai. Right? He didn't say where, meaning we said before that you could either say don't publicize it, or he said don't put it in the he didn't tell him to put it into the street. I mean, he just said write a shtar. So Ravina Amar Loichashina. Ravina says we're not chayshish. That's considered a hidden matana, and therefore memela it's legit. Rav Ashi Amar Chashinon, we are chayshish that it was not legit. Behilchus Chashinon, and the halacha is that we're chayshish. Right? So I just didn't understand exactly what's going on here. So does that mean that every time you write a shtar, matana or something, you have to specify that this is not hidden? Right?
Yeah, you have to tell him to write it in public because that part of the reason to write a shtar is colorlessly to make a koil. You can't make a koil if it's written in private.
No, I'm saying, so you have to write, it says every shtar, I don't know, I never saw a shtar matana. Did I know shtar matana? Do we do that nowadays? Anybody do that?
It says he writes over here that the giver charged us with the writing document publicly. He has to write that I'm doing it publicly.
Does anyone give away real estate today?
Yeah, what do you mean? People don't.
We do it for shtick.
Yeah, that's how Shor Yoshev got the property there.
So there has to be a shtar for that. There's a shtar matana.
Yeah, it's $1, but whatever.
The fact that you know means that it has to be written in public. It has to be publicly written. The doctors, so people know.
Right? I know, I'm saying, don't we do this? We do this. People are constantly giving away for fake, but it's fake. Right?
Well, then presumably you don't want it publicized.
No one's giving me any properties for free.
Anyways, all right, I got to stop here. Now, let's see.
You want to say a story before you do the